So what
We
happened?
heard there's this funny thing where people on like the iPhone are putting farts into all their podcasts. So we're like, that sounds cool. We should do that too. So we're just gonna fart a lot during the podcast because I heard someone was doing that. I don't know, that sounds funny. Like that. Games, video 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 games.
It's March 11th, 2009, and 12 days remain in the countdown to tears.
This is Idle Thumbs 22, and I'm Chris Remo.
I'm Nick Brecken.
I'm Jake Rodkin.
Cool.
Yeah.
Hey,
that's us.
Yep. Actually, first I should say we actually released a podcast already this week.
That was a blast, a news blast.
A pod blast. Right. We don't put those on the front page, so a lot of people probably didn't actually hear it. If you're interested, you can check us out on iTunes or our RSS feed from our front page, and then you can find a sweet 18-minute bonus blast in which you will receive the necessary context to understand why 12 days remain in the countdown to tears. When Neil Young...
Neil Young of EALA, not Neil Young.
Well, actually, no longer. Now he's of NG-Moco, the iPhone publisher.
But at the time, he was the head of EALA.
Yeah. He's giving a session at GDC. And actually, for those who did listen to the blast, some potentially ominous news about Neil Young and the countdown to tears. We built up that Neil Young is getting ready to sort of end a 5-year wait.
His 5-year end date that he set in 2004, GDC 2004, for a game will
make you weep. Make you weep openly. And we're starting to worry because we mentioned a few days ago that the logo, the NG-Moco logo, the logo of Neil Young's new company, is actually an emoticon smiley face.
It seemed like it was in direct opposition to his goals of a crying game.
Right, exactly. We were we're getting even more worried now because we just looked up just a minute ago his actual session for GDC, and the name of the session is "Why the iPhone Changes Everything." So there might be no tears coming. This is like we're going to be in fucking some
maybe
serious
the iPhone
suspense.
Changes everything to a terrible conclusion. Maybe why it changes everything.
Yeah, he's actually
into shit.
The Moscone Center is going to sort of open in a huge fissure, and lives and houses will be destroyed. Yeah. Only Neil Young will be laughing at that point.
Yeah, the iPhone is the trigger.
Yeah.
Anyway. Everyone finds a secret Rolando level. What? I didn't notice this was here before.
It's like the Ring,
right?
Yeah.
When you play that Rolando level, there's an entirely different countdown to tears that begins when you load up that level.
Yeah.
So yeah, that might happen. No, but GDC is coming up, and it's gonna be cool. We're gonna have a bunch of Idle Thumbs people there. It'll be good times.
Yeah. We're all dorking out or stressing out over it, depending on which of us it is.
Or both at the same time.
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah.
So, games.
Yeah.
I gotta be fucking straight up here. I really, really, really was trying to find a good game to play in advance of this podcast so that I would have a thing to talk about.
Yeah.
And I played some stuff that I can talk positively about, but there were a lot of gaming disappointments for some reason for a lot of us in the last week.
Yeah.
Nick might most of all. After last week, Nick's agony over not being able to play Empire Total War.
Yes, his
that might actually have transformed into a different
type of agony.
This is the third week running of Nick's cycling reason for why Empire Total War is letting you down.
Ruining his life.
Yeah, pretty much.
So what's going on? How do you like it? How good is... Because I got to say, I've been playing Empire Total War, and it's really fun.
Yeah.
And I mean that honestly.
Hate you.
He's been putting hours into it.
I actually did play it a bunch this weekend, and it's fucking rad.
Oh.
And actually... Yeah, I know. Go ahead.
Oh, God. I have never been this angry at a computer game before in my life.
Really?
Yeah, computer game or video game.
Computer and video games.
I don't know how you can be playing this thing without any problems. I mean, I literally do not understand. There are so many different kinds of bugs in this game that it's like a smorgasbord of bugs. Like there's just, I don't understand how you could possibly like play the game and go through it in a series of turns and decisions that, you avoid every, like, there's got to be some point where you like crashed or a texture didn't load. You're telling me that everything was perfect.
Yeah.
I fucking hate you. I have never had this many problems with the game. I'm baffled Remo style. It's so bad.
Well, not really, because it's fine. I'm, not baffling at all as far as I'm concerned. So, just saying.
I almost wish that you had as many problems as I did, because when you have that many problems with the game, your head explodes.
Yeah, I know.
And it would have been funny, but
you could tell a story about
it. It just makes me angry.
I could.
Yeah. Or you could tell the tale of H.A.W.X.
Oh, H.A.W.X.
Oh,
yeah.
H.A.W.X.
That's a totally different kind of thing. No bugs with that game, but definitely some
your head exploded.
Yeah, I'll talk about that later. Go ahead,
I
Nick.
played that demo too. My head has exploded a lot lately.
It's gotta hurt.
Anyway,
boss face action.
Gross.
Yeah, but
So that sucks. They released a patch today. Did it help?
no,
Not at all.
Okay,
Nothing
I'll
Have you tried turning it off and back on again?
I hit the computer a lot,
Oh my god! I was
to
on the
it,
phone
pleaded.
with a Microsoft Xbox Live support.
I thought you were going to say a Microsoft expert for a second.
Well, I'm sure that's what his title. I'm sure his title had expert in it. somewhere.
Xbox.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I couldn't sign into Live, and it was every fucking tech support person ever. I'm pretty sure they give the same script. I don't mean like within the company. I mean to anyone doing tech support for anything in the world.
Is
for
your
any
network
product.
cable plugged in? Is the Xbox
Have you
plugged
turned
in?
it off and on again? Now, once you turn it off, you have to wait for 10 seconds and let it kind of fully.
How true is that anymore?
Yeah,
Like,
that's
is this
gotta
like
be
a fucking
bullshit,
Commodore
right?
64? The RAM has to cool down.
Right? Yeah, exactly. I was ready to fucking punch this guy through the phone. So I guess I know how
amazing.
Nick feels. I guess Nick doesn't have a dude telling him.
I don't even
to
have a
do things.
dude. I can't. There's nobody to call. What am I going to call? Like SEGA of America? Like these
You could
people.
go there in this city. You could fucking drive over.
I could. I'm
Storm
going to
in
actually.
holding your disc out in front of you.
I actually am going
you
there
could
on
do
Wednesday.
Michael Moore
so
style, like fucking
right.
just obnoxious.
just sort of like bust in there. And be like,
yeah.
Why won't you patch this game, Sega? Just to have a whole bunch of sort of like Hispanic mothers
Yeah.
around you for no reason.
oh god.
Yeah,
I
you should
might
do
that now.
We'll put that on Idle Videos.
Yeah. I wouldn't expect that, but anyway,
I would. I expect it. What are you seeing on Wednesday, by the way?
I'm actually just going there to like pick something up.
To
It's
hang
just,
out.
like a random. Yeah, like,
Just you in Sonic.
yeah,
A guy in a Sonic costume.
yeah.
Maybe Simon Jeffrey in a Sonic costume.
Yeah.
That's what I want to see. Sorry.
You go talk. Find something. Knock on some doors.
I
Fucking
might
bust some doors
I
down.
actually might.
Fuck it.
But
That would be hilarious. I'll take a personal day off work and I'll videotape you.
okay,
It'll be hilarious.
it's a fucking deal.
All right. Fucking
I'm
do it.
angry enough. I could probably like pull off the Michael Moore thing at this point.
All right. Fucking do it.
Yeah. I mean, that's the worst thing about this
now. If it
situation.
doesn't happen,
There's nobody
then
to
you
like.
can send us angry emails about it.
Yeah. I mean, when you have problems like this, there's like no face to pin the problems on. Like you go into the support forums and it's just a bunch of people who are just sad. Like, I mean, the only guy who's like
Even the community moderator is bummed.
well, they don't even have like really official forums. They're just kind of like an unofficial forum that they sort of stole.
Total War Planet.
Yeah, it literally is. It's like Total War. It's like some random fan thing that they just kind of labeled. But anyway, the only guy who's like responding there is Kieran Brigden, the Creative Assembly guy. He's not really responding. He made one post, and his post was, we're looking at these issues, blah blah blah. There's only 1% of users have reported this issue, but we want to, still you
It
guys
is the classic
should
number of people who have problems.
Isn't it?
1%.
Yeah, the red ring of death. I mean, you can go down the list and like that's always the line, the 1%. But when you're in that, I doubt it's 1%. But when you're in that group, that's just like a fucking
it's
punch
like an
to the
insult
face.
because it's
the
like
biggest
you're
fucking,
telling me this isn't even as high a priority as it could be. 'Cause
Right.
It's only fuck you. It's
Yeah.
still not working for me, assholes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
There was a
thing
bug
about
in this game.
Even if it is 1%, even if your game,
Right.
only sells a few thousand copies, that's still enough dudes
Yeah.
to post on most major sort of like gaming discussion thoroughfares saying this game is shit and doesn't work for me,
Yep.
and I can point to these 4 other people who it also doesn't
Yeah.
work for. So like that
Well, I
conversation
mean,
is going to exist.
on that note of sales, I mean, just to not to detract from Nick's woes, but like just I don't obviously it's bullshit that this is happening, and I hope they fix this stuff in a relatively timely fashion. But also, I am impressed separately that this game is actually the number one selling game in the UK right now across all platforms. For a PC game, that's ridiculous.
I enjoy that it's in the UK that it's doing well.
Well, I mean, they're from the UK. I don't know. I think it's cool. In their
It's a Euro-centric game, but
yeah, it is. I mean, it's European
that's
imperialism.
Where it's going to do most
but
of the sales,
I just think it's cool. Like you just don't. The last time that happened was 2007 in the UK. Yeah. It's cool that in a crazy, weird, exclusive game about 18th century imperialism is outselling Killzone 2. Yeah. Like it knocked Killzone 2 off of the number one slot.
Sweet.
That's an awesome thing as far as I'm concerned.
It's a great game.
Not because of Killzone 2, but just because it's a cool.
Sure.
You were pleased to see Killzone 2 knocked from its perch?
Yeah, I realized after I said it. But no, I'm
how true it was?
Shit.
And I do have to say I'm enjoying it.
Yeah.
Honestly. I mean,
that's great.
I know.
I'm really happy for you.
I'm so torn.
Maybe I'll come over here and play it.
I don't want to.
Can I just watch you play it?
Yeah, I think Chris
Can I just see what it's like to play a functional version of this fucking piece of shit? I'm so angry. You have no idea like how many fucking like hours I played this game and tried to enjoy it. Like you can look at my Steam account. I've tried to play. I played it for 25 hours. I got 106 turns into like that was like at least 12 or 14 hours into a campaign, and now there's a bug where every time I hit end turn it crashes to the desktop and I can't make any more progress. My fucking campaign is fucked.
Have you tried not ending the turn?
Yeah, I could just sort of like shuffle my pieces around turn it into like a metagame.
You don't have to be violent. You can just not attack people.
Yeah.
I mean, you could just not conquer someone. I mean, then you're changing history.
Kind of like, yeah, just
you're,
like,
you just
request like trade agreements for like for 10 hours, just trying to turn it into a weird like high school girls in trouble metagame. Yeah,
yeah, it was like that story about the guy the dad who made his kid turn off.
That was awesome.
Turn off Call of Duty or whatever whenever an NPC does not obey the Geneva Conventions.
No, his son.
Oh, I thought it was when someone in his squad failed. He also had to stop.
Oh, I didn't read that.
That was less exciting to me.
It's a weird
the story was I thought it was hilarious. I didn't read it like that at all. I read that the father said his son can only play Call of Duty 4 if his son abides by the Geneva Conventions while playing online.
I remember the article saying if someone like just if someone else who's allegedly like on his team disobeys,
maybe like every 5 seconds.
That would make it.
I
think the father would realize that would make it impractical to the point.
Yeah, I guess.
I mean, it still is slightly impractical, but also it's sort of hilarious and awesome.
Yeah.
Like I really enjoyed that news story, especially because the kid seemed relatively into it, which is pretty rad.
That's cool.
You guys can probably find this if you search for Call of Duty 4 Geneva Conventions. There will be no other instance of relevant page.
Yeah,
but that was a good thing. So you should just do that in your game, then you'll be fine, Nick. It'll be sweet.
You're playing this role of like community just check your drivers. It'll be fine. Just check them. I'm having a good time.
Maybe you should just
check your drivers.
Maybe you're just not playing the game the right way.
Maybe your computer just sucks. It probably just sucks. It's probably your computer. It's probably just
that is actually something that happens a lot among actual gamers or forum members, which I hate.
Yeah.
Which is it's running fine for me, you must be you something wrong. Yeah. That happens a lot.
You can fall into that too.
Let's ignore the fact that we all built these out of individual parts that we ordered one at a time off the internet and then slapped them out in and out over the last 5 years. But I'm sure if my config is playing this game, everyone's is. Let's just ignore the fact that it's just a heap of circuit boards that I threw together.
Yeah, I mean that's also true. Yeah,
I don't know.
PC gaming.
I like PC gaming, but sometimes people get confused about what is reality.
It's such an abuse of
I feel bad
PC
about
gamers, like really dedicated fans who really want this game, and then they sort of drop the ball, and it like I don't know. I mean, there are probably guys out there who this is like the one game they're going to buy the rest of the year, and
it's
sort of
definitely
shit
that
on
kind
them.
of game. It could be that game for people.
Yeah, I get the sense that this is probably Sega's fault to some degree because Creative Assembly probably pushed for the month delay that they got to begin with, but we've heard problems with Sega. Their funding right now, so I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if Creative Assembly knew this was going to happen. But
wow. Maybe.
I don't know. It's all speculation, but I don't know. Either way, it's pretty shameful. It's not. I mean, it's like it's not a case of just me complaining about like my problems. There are enough bugs, and I've been like following the forums, and it's just really bad. Just the amount and variety is just insane. So it sucks.
Will you be offended if I talk about this game?
The face you
I don't know
just
what to
made.
do. I feel like
This is right. Yeah. It's like when you really like a movie and then somebody just hates it. They just don't want to say anything.
or
this is
it
the
wasn't-
opposite,
or it
actually.
wasn't released in their country or something. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's more like that. It's
Yeah.
less that you didn't like it, and more
Right.
that you are unable to.
Right.
Yeah.
Just talk about it.
Go ahead.
I don't know. I was just gonna.
tell
I'm
them
not
it's a
gonna-
Great game. You know, you can see it underneath all the
Right,
shit.
right. I was just. I'm not. I won't talk about it too much. I don't want to dwell on this game forever. But one of the things I was talking to Jake about the other day is just how, technical problems aside, it is really crazy to me that someone is still making a game like this.
Oh yeah.
Like, it's pretty amazing. Like, it's the kind of game where you play it and it just sort of.
That's kind of the
not,
problem from my like. You hate to like. Sorry, go ahead. No, go ahead. I don't want to run over your fucking shit with my complaining, but
I don't mind.
it's just, you feel bad complaining about it because there's no other choice, right? I mean, but at the same time, that's the most obnoxious about it.
You could choose to play it on Chris's computer.
Your computer's better than mine too, which is funny. But anyway,
I built it for this shit. I look like a douche. Anyway, go ahead.
I don't know. I'm just gonna. I'll get this over with quickly. I was just gonna say, I think it's cool that, just as far as the actual game design itself and the content and so forth, it's really cool to me that a game like this is made in 2009 because it's not usually games about something like this, about large scale war, sort of set in an actual historical era. That stuff tends to be relegated to like really extreme niche audiences and made
Or it's played like Dynasty Warriors or something.
Yeah.
well, right. I mean, this style of game, this gameplay.
I mean, there have been games set in this era, with, I think there's Imperial Glory.
Yeah.
And, but yeah, typically they're not big budget titles. They get a lot of attention and a lot of detail put into
It's just
them.
like, as you play, I mean, and they did a good job. I've been playing the War of Independence thing.
Yeah.
Which is the sort of like, it's not a tutorial per se, but it basically is. It's like an integrated tutorial.
Yeah.
It's like there's actual standalone tutorial things, but then there's also the War of Independence, which is a campaign that just eases you into stuff.
Yeah.
And it's, as someone who has only played, like the only one I played before this was Rome, and I didn't play that much of it really. Mm-hmm. It was really overwhelming for me. Like I sort of got into it and like there was nothing close to what they do in this game where they sort of take you by, like at a certain point in Rome, I just sort of was like trying to do everything by trial and error in a way that was sort of didn't feel like it made any sense. I'm like, I feel like if I was in this position, I would either know what I'm doing or there'd be someone advising me on it.
Right.
But in Empire, they did a really good job of getting into it and just seeing how much shit there is to do in this game, just like unfold. And you look and like just looking at the, because I'm just confined, I'm on this area of land that relates to the specific story, like
it's
the
basically
American colonies.
a zoomed in version of of a
Right,
regular
exactly.
campaign.
But you can still zoom out and look at the world map.
Sure,
and like,
right.
as
You
you
get
zoom out and
used
look
to
at it, I'm
it,
like,
but
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
There's these trade routes that go over to Asia and fucking like Europe and shit. It's just like, it's amazing seeing all this stuff and yet having it be so incredibly playable and like manageable. It's a really amazing game design. I'm like super psyched about this existing. It's just really cool.
I mean, they almost had to really do that because the campaign itself is a lot more complicated, as from the initial scenario. I mean, when you just jump into a regular grand campaign, it's a lot more complicated than Rome itself was. But anyway,
yeah. Well, yeah, and so I think they did a good job. I'm pretty psyched about it. I hope, I feel so bad every minute I talk about this. So I hope they fix your shit. I don't know.
My shit.
Well, just the shit that's affecting many
Yeah, I
people.
hope
The
you-
1% of
I hope you find the
of
component
my household.
in your PC that's screwing it up, so you can clean up your config there a little bit. And
Yeah, I don't know. I don't even know if I should recommend this game or not.
I am just.
It's
Typically, I'm the kind of person who would ignore a lot of bugs to just
like
sort of
99
and I
out of
have
100
been.
of all listeners should get this game. And that's fair to say.
chances are.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
Yeah. I don't know what to say. In
I would wait a
conclusion,
month.
but
That's what I would say.
I mean, that's probably a wise thing to do. Just see if the bugs level out.
Wait until you've forgotten
will.
about this game and then buy this game.
I mean, the past games have been
I'm sure
fairly
at some
buggy
point
as
there will
well.
be a Steam weekend sale or something. I mean, I don't know if you want to wait for that. That's going to be a long time probably, but I'm sure this game will. These types of games usually have longer, more even sales curves than than sort of a more traditional AAA game.
They're going to support it down the road too. They're going to add multiplayer and stuff. So
oh, that's right. They're adding in multiplayer.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's multiplayer now, but they'll add campaign multiplayer. So.
I see.
Sweet.
Anyway.
Yeah.
So that's a bittersweet experience here among the Idle Thumb staff.
Yeah.
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 One new thing I did play that is awesome, that is a lot less controversial, is the Mirror's Edge DLC.
Oh, yeah.
This actually isn't new. I just forgot about it. Steve.
Right. I think all of us forgot that it existed.
And I was so excited about it. And Steve sent me a message the other day, and he was like, hey, did you ever play the Mirror's Edge DLC? And I realized I had totally forgotten about it. So I went to... I have the PC version of Mirror's Edge, so I went to whatever EA's store is, and I bought it. And it's fucking great. It's just exactly what I thought it was going to be. Like, there's no surprise at all, but it's just awesome. It's just crazy, abstract blocks in the sky in really cool levels, and you just do a bunch of time trials.
Yep.
And you can. And it's got. I mean, they had this in the main game too, but by the time I was done slogging through the main game, I was so sick of it that I didn't do a lot of time trial stuff. So I didn't sort of uncover the stuff at the time, really. But you can do cool stuff like download a ghost from people on the leaderboards. So
you can download a ghost.
You can grind a sweet ghost. I guess you could call it grinding a ghost. I mean, if you're sitting there racing against the same ghost every time and trying to work up to his record,
you could grind a ghost.
Fucking grinding that ghost. So you can download the ghost from the number one ranked player in the world on your platform, or and just play against him and try to get your time up or down on a level. It's just a really good implementation of the mechanics in that game.
Yeah.
And you can tell that they learned a lot from the actual campaign in terms of how to design the levels in a way that is suggestive of there being a lot of different routes you can take. But because it's so abstract, it's hard to get. Like in the main game, there will be things like, oh, there's a pipe going across here, or there's like a big wooden board that's conspicuously placed.
Right.
There are very obvious cues usually as to the paths you can take, or it'll just be totally hidden because it's completely unintuitive. Like, oh, I've got to jump over this crazy part of the wall that I never, looks like every other
column or some random.
Right, because it's in the real world and there's only so much you can do without making it just look really obvious or just integrated. But in the abstract stuff, they can really play with sort of starting, like there's a little block jutting off of a platform here that sort of suggests maybe I should jump off that thing, but there's no really clearly defined sort of line that you can obviously follow. It's really cool. It suggests all these different ways you can go that kind of make your brain think about little other possible directions you could take, but don't necessarily hammer any of them home. And it's really cool because I find
some guy who's way better than you takes it.
Well, some guy who's way better than me clearly figures it out to a degree that makes me some of the levels I'll put on the top ghost, and I'll I won't come close to them, but I can pretty much.
That was what I always did.
Can keep them in my frame and sort of like get what they're doing. Some of these fucking ghosts, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Like I'll turn on the ghost and I'll start within like 5 seconds. They're fucking gone. They're out. I couldn't even. It is the most infuriating thing. How can you do that? There's no run button in this game. You're always running. What am I doing wrong?
Yeah.
This is crazy. People do crazy shit. Like they'll use a tiny little bit of wall to wall jump on and get momentum. Like it's cool. I love that the game supports that, but it also makes me sad because I will always be terrible.
Yeah, I just inevitably sort of like, it's almost like looking at a guide or something, when you download the top ghost. Like
but it's a real dude though.
I know, yeah. So like a crazy guide written
Stay in
by
formation.
yeah.
But it's cool. I recommend the DLC. It's $10. I don't know. Some people might have issues about that. I didn't really mind paying it, but
yeah, I played it at your place for a little while, and it was actually kind of weirdly the first Mirror's Edge that I have actually played.
Yeah,
and it was pretty cool. One thing that Steve said, which I disagreed with at the time. And which actually goes against all the positives you just said, is that Steve said that he wished that even though the DLC was pure platforming, that it had still taken place in some semblance of a city instead of in a completely abstracted thing.
A lot of people were
said that, yeah.
I really like the look of it, and I enjoyed playing it, but I do kind of agree in a way, just because one of the things that appealed to me about Mirror's Edge was that it was, in this game, you get to sort of feel the experience of being good at parkour, and it's super fucking stylized in the actual game. The city doesn't look like a city. It doesn't look like actual parkour videos.
But it's evocative of city.
Yeah, but in this, it's like, imagine if a crazy parkour person ended up in those cool levels in Mario Sunshine.
Right. Yeah.
which didn't really take a whole lot. It didn't take anything away, but it made me wonder if, if the experience could have been plussed by a couple of the environments being themed and not all of them being over like the Super Monkey Ball ocean.
It feels like a bonus level that you would unlock or something.
Yeah, but they are super.
But there are
a
lot of them though. That's the thing. There's a ton of levels.
Yeah, I'm sure that the fact that they didn't actually go through a really serious styling pass meant that they could just. The level designers could just go churn out a shitload of them without the art team having to polish all of them up.
Right. No, I agree. I'm glad they did this for at least some of them, but I agree. In retrospect, it would have been nice if they had done at least a couple.
Every now and then, you'd pop into a nice looking one,
right?
So you'd get sort of the best of because this is sort of what you wanted from Mirror's Edge to a lot of the subset of the players, but maybe it's not quite because you're actually now. Jumping around on cubes, so it's not, they didn't give you like the one level where it's like here and now,
So like every 3 levels, she takes off like the virtual reality helmet, and then you do a level.
That's what I was about to say. It's like the second half of Portal.
Right. It's everything's just all shitty. Yeah.
Right. Right. It's Mirror's Edge, but they've sort of turned off all the glow.
Way more depressing because she's not in her weird padded pod that everything's just rusted and fucking broken. Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. No. I wonder if they will. They probably. I don't think they've mentioned anything about further content, but.
It was nice that they put this out though because it's cool stuff.
No, I agree. It's nice to see. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, if for people who don't mind that it's completely abstract, it's definitely super fun.
Yeah, I mean, actually, this is really stupid and is the sort of thing that I would say, but
you would say that.
Playing it made me want to just finally go and buy Mirror's Edge and then just buy the DLC on day one.
Right. Yeah.
which is dumb, but I suspect that I'll derive more entertainment out of the pure platforming stuff than I will out of the main game.
What Steve did with the main game, and I should have done this in retrospect, is since he also had the PC version, he just downloaded a trainer that made him have infinite health and just ran. He could still die by falling off ledges and stuff, but he wasn't harmed by bullets. So he just played the game as a pure platformer and just ignored all the enemies and was like, that was a great game. I loved it. So that was, well done, Steve. Well played.
It's a good move.
Yeah.
Cheats. Yeah.
He is cheating and making it into a baby game.
He cheated it, but I mean, it's like,
hey,
instead of skipping what the game's actually about,
that's the power of PC gaming.
I mean,
yeah, but a lot of times,
funny. Well, no, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, a lot of times you're cheating and you're actually removing or greatly dampening the actual mechanic of the game.
Yeah.
Whereas in Mirror's Edge, to me, the game itself is the platforming, which you can still die from even in God mode.
So you're talking about when you tape a flashlight onto your gun in Doom 3.
Yeah, right.
I'm not going to talk about that. I'm still pissed about that.
Many years ago, Jake wrote a very angry editorial on Idle Thumbs about basically bitching out players who use the flashlight mod in Doom 3.
I thought people were seriously missing the point. Doom 3 is basically a survival horror game, and then it's this is shit. What is there's dark parts of this game? Fuck that. I'm gonna make it so I can see all the time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Jake was
I wish I could disagree with you.
By this.
Well, it's just people would do that, and then they're like, this game isn't scary.
Yeah.
Wait, when you say you wish you could agree with them, does that mean you do and you wish you could say?
I'm not saying.
Or you don't. And
I fear Jake's wrath. I mean, no. I agree with Jake.
Okay,
I'm saying it would be better podcast theater if I could be like, no,
Jake,
man,
you fucking idiot.
Yeah,
come on,
mod it, man. You gotta get into mods. No, I totally agree.
I mean, you could there's probably a console command that would just run Doom 3 full bright.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
It's weird. I hadn't thought about cheats as a concept in a while. For some
I have
some reason.
All the hidden
time
keys
since I've used a cheat. It's probably been years.
Yeah, but when Empire came out, I was reading the.
I don't know.
It's weird to think about because I never have.
That just actually reminded me. I know I'll get back to you for a second, but we're talking about cheats. My friend who borrowed my Game Genie in 1993.
I saw this.
Actually, just gave it back to me. So. I can finally infinitely fly in Mario 3 again. So anyway, so I've got.
Did he just remember one day?
He said that he opened up a drawer and was like, it was in the back of his closet with a little sticky on it saying "Give back to Jake." This is a guy who I've known.
Written in a child's scrawl?
I don't know. It's a guy that I've known since he was born and I was 3 years old.
Oh wow!
And he now works at Telltale, weirdly enough, in QA. So I just showed up at work and my Game Genie was sitting on my desk.
That's insane.
Anyway, I can now cheat again at games. Thanks, Galoob.
Oh man, Galoob, did they make that?
Yeah, it's Galoob.
Weird.
Oh.
Anyway, what were you saying about cheats?
I when I was on the Empire Total War forums, I was, you
You were cheating.
yeah,
I found there's a cheat that makes the bugs go away.
that's what I was looking
Makes
for.
the game way easier.
But people were so
You can finish a move.
Yeah, right. People were so angry though about the fact that you couldn't cheat in the game anymore. Like they took
Wait, really?
Apparently, you could cheat in previous Empire or Total War games.
It does have wall hacks.
yeah.
You can
I
make, sort of
you hack-
polygons point out of all the
I
sides of the
attacked
guys.
China by hacking through the world.
Yeah.
What?
You use
Like
the
digging
wall
a hole
hack.
to
You use the
China.
wall hack to dig a hole to
Yeah.
China. Yeah. All right.
What'd you think? I was making some weird
All your
joke?
guys
I
got
don't even-
stuck in the middle of the earth in a weird gravity thing. That was fucked. It was
Yeah, that
gross.
was too bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a Katamari.
It was like Katamari.
Yeah.
Yeah.
God, imagine if a game actually rendered the entire world. Like if I'm,
Spore.
I guess Spore actually does do that.
Yeah. In your
Well,
face.
Will Wright wins.
Yes.
Well done.
That's Will Wright. That's my Will Wright impression.
That's exactly what he sounds like.
Yeah,
That's-
it's
I've heard.
amazing.
You know,
Will Wright actually provided the laugh when you uppercut a guy in Mortal Kombat.
that was when he was sort of really young in the games industry. He was
Right,
taking
yeah.
whatever job he
It's like
could
I
get.
got
Yeah,
SimCity
yeah.
down, but I need a little extra something. So I heard this people
Voice
like, people
acting
like that
for
laugh.
Mortal Kombat. Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, you were looking for cheats. Oh, people were pissed that you can't cheat.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, that's special.
Bitches.
sometimes you can't cheat.
No.
You shift FUND.
That's like a SimCity
That's
reference or
SimCity,
something? Yeah. Yeah, nice.
Wow, reticulating splines.
Yeah.
I think most Max's games of that era supported that. In SimAnt, if you did it, it just said congratulations, you have $10,000. Anyway,
Yeah.
you're an ant though. You know, so you get it because it's an ant game.
Yeah.
SimAnt.
Yeah.
You're an ant.
Did you guys ever play Sim Tower?
Yes.
That game was
Yoot.
fucking sweet.
Yoot Saito.
Yoot Saito. Before I had any idea who Yoot Saito
I know,
was.
right?
That game
Like-
was called Yoot Saito's Sim Tower, though, wasn't it?
It was called the sequel was Yoot Tower.
Yeah,
Oh,
but
okay.
the original game made no mention of Yoot.
Yeah, it was just Sim Tower. I mean, Max has published
Useless.
a billion Sim games.
Right.
Yes.
I mean, they also published Sim Tunes. Wasn't that by the guy who made Electroplankton?
I believe it was.
Yeah. I
Yoshio
think so.
Iwai? Yeah. But Sim Tower was fucking sweet. I
It
played that
was.
game more than probably any Sim game except SimCity itself.
That and SimCopter were my like niche
never played
Sim
SimCopter.
games. We've talked about this before.
I
Probably,
played Sim Ant, Sim Earth,
Yeah,
Sim
Ant
Tower,
was
and
great.
SimCity.
Streets of Sim City.
I didn't play that.
Neither did I.
I
I
got
remember
that for
I have a
Christmas,
PC
and then I
Gamer though
Yeah.
with that ad in it
Yeah,
with the
I
car
remember
with
the ad.
fucking rockets.
Yeah, it was on the cover.
blasting out of the.
That was the cover of the game.
Oh,
I got it for
okay.
Christmas one year, and I was so sad. I was like, "Oh,
Sweet, a new Sim
I was
game.
like,
Wait a
"Thanks,
minute."
Grim." Oh,
Oh, you like Sim
That
City?
game
You would
was
love
like-
to blast through your city with a
Clearly,
car.
someone at
wanted Sim
Electronic
Tower.
Arts was like Sim City. I don't know. I mean, could we put guns in
Right,
this
yeah.
somehow? I mean, how about you drive around? I mean, there's got to be something
I mean,
we can do.
it makes you
to
wonder
this.
if that started as we can. You know, you can take your city and then you can walk around it in 3D. Wait a minute. Put flames on that motherfucker. Put some machine guns on the front of it. And
now
then,
you got a game.
And then run over a guy, probably.
God, imagine if you combine that with Grand Theft Auto.
That game made Will Wright cry, by the way. So that line reached. Countdown to tears.
Right.
Anyway, maybe not. Maybe he thought it was badass.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of those games weren't. Wait, what?
Sorry, that image for some reason of Will Wright thinking that game is badass made me think of like an 80s video game
They're
ad
actually-
that is like Will Wright dressed as the Interstate 76 guy leaning against the table like with a computer running Streets
yeah.
of SimCity
I
on
had
it.
this right with his arm over it.
Right.
I had a similar image because there actually is a frequently circulated publicity photo of Will Wright that has him looking very sort of like smug and like
Oh,
in
yeah,
control.
yeah.
But it's Will Wright, so it looks kind of weird that he's making that expression.
Right, because like when
I
you see him at
can't- this is
GDC, he's just
audio,
like
so I can't
goofball,
describe
basically.
this, but yeah.
Yeah.
Not like a goofball, but you know,
No.
he's
Will
he's-
Wright is
he's-
pretty much actually one of my favorite people
yeah,
in the
but
games
I mean,
industry.
when he speaks, he's definitely a little bouncy.
Right, he's full on like dude with nerdy interests who is brilliant and
right.
like talks. Yeah,
Yeah, pretty much.
I don't know. He's like the best at doing that, pretty much. If anyone's ever seen him talk, he'll fucking be talking 1 minute about.
He's like a well-rounded version of Carmack.
Right, exactly. He's like Carmack,
like-
but he has
with less nose, also.
but he has interests that also extend more into
Yes, like
sort of
human-
realms that people can understand.
Right, yeah,
Like
human
he-
things.
I remember
right?
at one point he was
Outside of the machine world.
right. Yeah, There's a siren. It happens a lot.
Yeah. It's like we're on the streets of SimCity.
Down there, there's a police car fucking
with machine
driving
guns.
after a car with fucking rockets bolted to it. I remember one point I was at a Will Wright lecture where he was talking about The Sims and kind of his spore and all this stuff, and then all of a sudden he's like, I'm gonna take some time and just kind of talk about the Soviet space program. It was the best goddamn thing ever. He just went at all these fucking slides about just like the weird anachronistic computers that are still used in the Soviet spacecraft. It was a weird fucking thing. It was awesome.
Did you see those G4 things that they produced with him? It's like Will Wright.
I heard about that. I didn't see
because one of them was like the Russian space program.
Yeah,
it
he
was
probably
just
made
him,
it. He
he's like
that because
reusing his own material.
That guy's rad.
That's awesome.
Yep.
Yeah. You want to take a break for a minute?
We can take a break.
We can take a break.
Yep.
Taking a break.
Taking a break,
boss. Okay.
That was an acceptable half hour.
Yeah,
I enjoyed that a lot.
That's fine. Video game.
But you can spin jump on the baboo.
Yeah,
though.
yeah.
Can you?
Spin jump.
Well, you can spin jump on a ghost.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's actually.
I never used the spin jump.
That's actually I rarely did. But
That was that was the one time that I used.
When Steve was talking about grinding a ghost and all that stuff, in my mind I was actually just picturing Mario. I was picturing Mario doing a little spin jump on.
Wow, that's not
Because
at all what I was
in
thinking.
the ghost houses where there's a shitload of ghosts, you can sort of just spin jump. You can sort of like chain spin jumps.
God, my Mario must have taken so much longer.
Yeah, that's true. Your Mario probably did take longer.
Fuck you. I know, I didn't never do that.
Yeah, you can spin jump a ghost. I think you can also spin jump the green like slime blobs in the ghost house. You can pretty much the ghost house is like a spin jump world.
It's a spin zone.
It's a spin zone.
It's a little different than
Yeah, pretty much it's just you just spin on a ghost.
Good. I'm glad you do that. You know what else actually you spin in? The fucking H.A.W.X demo. I know Nick already talked about this last week, but I just played it anyway just in case.
Yeah.
This was the most fucking... Okay, not since the fucking last Remnant demo have I been this confused. Like,
So like a week.
But before that it was a while, you know what I
Right,
mean?
yeah.
So it's not like this happens regularly.
Not since a month ago. Anyway.
Okay, well, these two, not in years have I been this confused. Like, seriously. I don't even know like what.
Don't know where to begin.
Yeah, no, I really don't. Like, I downloaded the H.A.W.X demo just because I was like, all right, whatever, demo, I'll play. I was looking for something to talk about for this podcast. Actually, this was over the weekend, and
you found it.
I fucking found
The
it.
H.A.W.X demo.
In
Oh,
a
perfect.
unexpected way. I really didn't know anything about this game.
Tom Clancy's Hall.
Oh man, Clancy. I really didn't know anything about this game other than Nick didn't like it either. So I was ready to go.
Yeah.
No, I downloaded it, and first of all, it was clearly not designed with mouse and keyboard in mind. That's for fucking sure.
Yeah. I didn't play it on PC.
There was no sensitivity setting for one thing, which is amazing. So I had to actually just. Fortunately, I have an extreme mouse that allows me to dynamically change the resolution, like just by pressing a button on the mouse. So I turned my resolution down and had the same effect, basically. But that was stupid that I had to do that. Maybe if I had a cyborg, it would have been even easier. Anyways.
Or a Cytec cyborg mouse.
Right. If I had a cyborg butler to adjust my mouse resolution for me, it would have been easier. But in a pinch, a cyborg mouse will do.
Yeah.
Or this mouse that you have, an extreme mouse.
Right. And so I start playing the game, and it takes me forever to get my control set up. I get into it. I put it into cockpit mode in the settings because that's the idea I have of like a flight combat game is being in a cockpit. Yeah, the Hawks and I disagree. Tom Clancy and I disagree about how a plane is flown. So I go in the thing and I go and
It's flown from the cinematic camera, man.
Yeah, the guy's like, you're going to have to go into off mode for this one. And I'm like, what is that? What is off mode? So I go and look in the options, and it like press control to enter off mode. So I press control, and it just takes me outside of the plane, and it puts into like this crazy side scrolling mode or something where you're just like,
it's like a helicopter shot.
Yeah, it's exactly. It's as if a helicopter was filming what you were doing. 1 minute you could be looking at the nose of your plane. 1 minute you could be looking at the side or the bottom.
It goes into like the NASCAR race cam, basically?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It's just a stationary cam.
It's not like a third person behind the plane thing. You're like looking at it as if someone else was watching you fly. Okay, like watching.
It's like the GTA cam.
Yeah,
it just stops and like you can
like
drive.
cinematic
GTA
one,
jump
right?
cam, yeah.
watching myself fly this plane was like watching an invisible kid run around a room with a paper airplane, like jumping around and shit. Like there was no, it was the most baffling crap imaginable, and the guy wouldn't let me back in the cockpit. I tried to press control again to do the thing, like, I have to complete this one in off mode. And then at one point, like, I eventually, I mean, first of all, it felt like they should have, they should have just made this game a series of QuickTime events. Like, that's basically what it was just me, like, being in a thing, stuff was happening that I'm watching, suddenly my crosshair turns red, and I press a button, and then a guy dies. And I'm like, oh, okay, sweet, I guess. Good times. And then I eventually crashed into the ground because I couldn't pull back.
Wasn't that because up and down it ended up being reversed in your key bindings?
Yeah, I said to switch the axes because I wanted back to be up and forward to be down, because that's how my brain thinks of flight games. And also that reversed my W and S keys, so it actually reversed throttle and brake. And so the guy was like, you're going to have to brake to stall, because he wanted to teach me how to recover from a stall. And so I was pressing the brake button, and my plane was just going faster. And I'm like, this shit is ridiculous. Like, nothing makes sense. It took me so long to figure out that I had to press the opposite of what he was telling me, because the axes were it was fucking disastrous. And so eventually I crashed, and I got kicked back to like a status screen. And then I was told I got 14% of my off certification, which is like the most meaningless, like, phrase. I don't know. This whole thing was ridiculous. Someone told me if you keep playing, you get to go to a mission where you get to choose if you're off or not.
Yes.
But I don't care enough. I don't know, I'm done.
You're off.
Fucking off.
You've entered off mode.
Yeah.
I think that we hate all games.
Yeah, we don't like games. I played the Up demo, the demo for the Pixar movie-based game Up.
This is the uplifting counterpoint.
Yeah.
You're right.
I don't really have anything good or bad to say about this, really. I mean, it is what it is. Like, it's not...
How did you get past the first guy? I couldn't get past the first guy.
I love that you played this also.
There was the snake in the path, and I was the grandpa, and I kept hitting the snake, and he would just knock me back on my ass.
The grandpa can't kill snakes.
Oh, well, that explains it. I would fall down, and then it was like stand up, and then like you have to like mash space to stand up, and I did this like 10 times, and I was like,
"Grandpa takes much longer to stand up than the kid."
Is the grandpa actually as enjoyable to play as he sounds from your description of him? Sorry,
not really. He's just a dude.
Okay, that's
he's got a walker, and he sort of
he's got the
along.
four-pronged like tennis ball padded.
Do you have to
walker.
do it sort of like four face button equivalent of GTA bike pedaling of San Andreas?
That'd be great though.
Yeah.
No, you just have to mash spacebar a lot till he gets up.
Yeah.
But no, you can only kill snakes as the kid. You have like a magnifying glass that you can use to like focus sunlight onto the snake, and
that makes sense.
in the Pixar film, that kid kills like 1 million snakes. It's faithful adaptation.
That whole like middle section of the film.
Yeah, where he's got the backpack full of snake
genocide.
corpses.
It's
actually
it's like Apocalypse Now.
I don't think
he
you
just sort of like
him.
loses
I think
his
you
mind. And
well, no, it's the Randy Newman montage. It's a classic part of that film. You guys will find out.
Sometimes you're playing a video game. Sometimes there's a snake in the way. That old snake. But you can't use the old man to kill that snake. No, that's a mistake. You can't use the old man to kill a snake. You gotta use the kid. You gotta use the kid to kill that snake. Use the kid. You gotta select the kid character to kill the snake. You gotta use the kid. Use the kid. You gotta use the kid. Gotta use the kid to kill the snake. Use the kid. Gotta use the kid to get rid of that snake.
The thing that I wanted to basically describe was that this game has the whole thing's a co-op game. You can play it one player and you switch between them and like solve puzzles between the old guy and the kid. And actually,
it uses the Lego Star Wars, Lego Indiana Jones thing?
It's a bit
right.
Where it's like
you can switch, or
there's two characters that you have to sort of flip back and forth with a little bit, or both people can be playing.
Right, exactly. And it's the kind of thing where it's not an interesting game from a gameplay standpoint, but I could easily see a parent and a kid just like having a nice time. You know what I mean? Like having a nice time.
Having a nice time.
I don't
God.
know. When I was playing it, no, I mean seriously, when I was playing it, like I know I frequently say that in a demeaning way, but like this, I don't know. It seemed like I could imagine a parent like sort of just trying to teach a kid about cooperation and teamwork and stuff. Like,
well, I mean, it sounds basically like the Lego games.
Right.
In that same exact way.
It's not as good as those, but, you know, it's not, but it is, you know, that same concept. And it's got nice music and the art direction's fine. It's just, you know, it's fine. It's whatever.
It's a game.
There aren't very many games like that other than Lego ones, so it's...
Right. It's good to see some more.
The thing that I wanted to say, I mean, I'm not recommending listeners go and play this. It's not going to be fun for you, but it does also...
Well, but I mean, it sounds like if you are looking for something to play with your kid and you've exhausted the Lego games.
Right.
Yeah.
You could look it up.
Exactly. And but
look up.
You can plug in a 360 controller to your PC, but also it's because they only released a PC demo for some weird reason. Because clearly that's where this game should be played, on the PC. But you can also play it with co-op if you want, using WASD for one characters and arrow keys for the other character.
The
and then so the other like it's WASD plus, you know, surrounding keys or arrow keys plus numpad. And I started doing them both at the same time to see if I could do it.
You're playing it like Robotron style.
Right, exactly. Or like the fucking crazy video of the insane dude who plays co-op Ikaruga.
Oh, right.
God,
it was like...
you're training on up, though, and then you move up to Ikaruga.
Move on to Ikaruga. No, it was like... It was really weird. It was sort of interesting to try to coordinate... I also don't recommend people do this because it was really frustrating. But it was sort of entertaining for a while.
I would like to see someone put a YouTube video of that up. I'd be fine with that.
What, of them actually...
Of one guy like dual wielding up.
Right, exactly. Like it was... I had to try to do all the jumps in quick succession, so I'd sort of line my two dudes up, one behind each other in front of a ledge, and then press, you know, forward on my left hand, then forward on my right hand, then spacebar to jump on my left hand, then 0 to jump on my right hand. And actually, I discovered on accident, because I was doing it that way, it actually has the Little Big Planet style dudes they'll grab onto each other if you're swinging on like a rope. So that was a weird experience. It was like intensely frustrating at times, but I created the frustration for myself, so I can't really complain.
Sweet.
But yeah, that was a weird thing I for some reason did with the up demo. I don't really know why.
Yeah, I've done that before.
That exact thing?
Yeah.
With what game?
I'm trying to think. I think like Little Big Planet or something.
Really?
Yeah.
Because with a controller would be really... I've done it
recently.
I've tried to do that with a controller before, and it's almost impossible.
It's really difficult.
Yeah.
I think I was playing with my girlfriend or something, and she couldn't like do the jump, and so I was like, "Fuck,
give me that."
Yeah, no, I was like, let me just do this for a while.
That's hilarious. Yeah, I've tried to play co-op stuff with two controllers before, but it just doesn't work because you only have a thumb.
Yeah, it's really difficult.
With at least on a keyboard, you have
like,
all 5 fingers, so you can, even though it's not necessarily intentional, you can still stretch your pinky out and press like the jump button or whatever. You know what I mean? Like
yeah. You can kind of do it, but it's tough.
Yeah, I have actually at times, like when I was feeling, okay, this is so horrible to say, but like when I'm just like in the laziest fucking most horrible mood ever, I have played a video game with a controller where I'm just it's like fucking Zelda mode that we described like months ago, except with a regular controller, where I'm trying to actually play both with one hand, use different fingers to like control the analog sticks and then like reach around and press buttons. It's the stupidest gaming activity I've probably ever attempted in my entire life, because there's no benefit or like interesting result. It's purely my guy is just slightly more retarded on screen.
Well, that reminds me of those old I think they were only really available in Japan, but there were SNES controllers that were basically folded in half to look like a stopwatch for people so you could play RPGs and like consult maps and stuff at the same time. Yeah. Right. I always wanted one of those just because it seemed like it would be awesome to basically be a dork who could play Super Mario Brothers with just like a left hand.
Right.
But I never imported one because I was like 14.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So sometimes people do stupid.
Sometimes people are dumb.
Yeah. I was also playing Unreal Tournament 3. I've been playing so many things for like an hour recently that I'm just like, I'm going to play a thing.
Yeah, I've been doing the same thing.
I got to find something to talk about. Jesus. I was actually, this is really weird.
Did you kill a guy?
In Unreal Tournament, I did kill many dudes.
Thank God.
I know. Jeez. What a disaster that would have been. No, I bought the Amadeus on Blu-ray. I bought Amadeus on Blu-ray recently,
And it came with an Unreal Tournament 3
yeah,
demo. It's a weird package.
It just came out, the Blu-ray, and I watched it immediately all the way through, and then watched the.
This is gonna be weird.
No, it's
What's the connection here?
I'm just describing, and so
Set in the mood.
I've watched the commentary too, and I about half. It's a long movie, and this was like my 5th hour of Amadeus material. It's straight, and I in the middle of the commentary, I'm like, I'll play a video game, and so I like while listening to because I just watched the movie,
I know what you
and
mean.
so while listening to the commentary, I loaded up Unreal Tournament 3 because everyone had been
Treat it like a
talking about
podcast
it
or
because
something, yeah.
right. Everyone had been talking about it because it had a free weekend last weekend, and actually they're going to reestablish the free weekend, because it broke. The servers broke last weekend, so I was sitting there like listening to Milos Forman and Peter Schaefer talk about Amadeus while just fucking blasting dudes in Elder Tournament. It's pretty sweet. It was sort of a weird, even more weird version of Burnout Paradise
with
like Beethoven in the
Yeah,
background.
right.
Yeah, it was getting even more descending into even stranger.
That would have people talking
dichotomy
about making
than-
a film about Mozart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next week I'm going to play Eraser fucking play Peggle while listening to Eraserhead. We'll see how that works. Yeah, so that was fun. Little tournaments actually.
And then you'll play Achievement Unlocked while listening to the Eraserhead commentary.
Yeah, exactly. Oh man, that reminds me. We played Eat Lead. Nick and I'm sorry, Steve
Not
and Jake
Nick.
and I, not Nick.
Yeah, we returned to Mad Hazard.
Yeah,
Yeah,
not that good.
not that good.
Steve seemed more into it than we were.
Yeah, he didn't seem excited, but he didn't seem
No.
as
Gameplay just,
It just
yeah.
the gameplay actually is not super objectionable. It's like it's clearly a somewhat budget level game.
Yeah,
but
but the gameplay did its
I
job.
can put up with that. A lot of that stuff. Like I don't. Production
So was actually
values
the
are
writing
like
that was
less
just
important to me all the
I felt
time.
like
But yeah,
like the guys actually there were a lot of jokes in it that were pretty decent, but I felt like the guys
they ruined them.
Yeah, I don't think that they believed in their hearts that they were telling good jokes, because like something actually pretty hilarious would happen every now and then someone would be like, "Oh man, that's a classic hilarious thing that just happened." It's like, "No, come on!"
And it was usually the main character.
Yeah, it's usually Mad Hazard. Like Will Arnett's job, sadly, is just to tell you when a joke came up.
That's too
Boy, there
bad.
sure are a lot of enemies here.
Right?
Gotta reload.
Like when
That's crazy.
That crazy,
There's
like-
a voice in my head.
Oh, that's awful.
Yeah, it was too bad. Like a guy came out who
It was too self-aware
basically
of its
like
own,
it was
like satire.
He was just pointing out every joke
It's
to you. And
like-
it's like I fucking get it. I get it.
yeah.
I understand the joke.
Like when the guy with the sort of Arnold voice came out and started just talking in that hilarious, like
Right, that was
way
good.
over
Yeah.
the top, like false Austrian accent. It was hilarious. And then he's like, "Who are you talking all crazy in my video game?" Like,
Right.
oh come on! I was laughing,
What are
and then
you,
I
some
stopped
kind of
laughing.
boss?
Right.
Like, fuck
Sadly, he
you.
doesn't do that.
That sounds like it might have been like an attempt at a joke in itself. You
yeah,
know what I
but
mean?
that-
Like
it
a
makes
Duke
it makes you feel
joke.
like
fails at it.
I think that sometimes they thought the explanation was funnier than the actual
Right.
joke,
Right.
which is too bad because there is
Well, I think
there's
they
some
thought
really good stuff in
pointing
there.
out the thing was
Yeah.
the joke, but in reality, the joke is that it's there.
Right.
Just presenting this as like, oh man, and they remembered this hilarious guy. Like that's
Right.
all you need. Then it's like, sweet, that guy's there. If it is just a game that's a lot of crazy meta callbacks,
Yeah.
that's what's funny, and not someone saying, this is there. Like, you're right, it's there. This isn't by chance. I'm playing a game that is nothing but a bunch of setups of weird game stuff. Anyway,
There's also there's danger in making a game that mocks bad or cliche elements of games, as if your game is more genuinely doing them at the same time. Like there's a
Right.
moment where there's like a bunch of animatronic like erotic dancers or something down on a level below, and your character's like QA, who's like your fucking in the ear woman who talks to you like they do in video games. Like, why do they look so weird down there? And she's like, oh, the animators didn't have time to make them look good because they didn't think anyone would get down there. But it's like, actually, most enemies in this game are animated really poorly.
Yeah. I
So
see.
that's the wrong thing to call attention to. It's just, there's a lot of moments like that where it's like, I don't mind that it's sort of lower budget, but like, you've got to be careful about the context in which, I don't know.
Yep.
It could have been better. It could have been a better game. Yeah.
It's too bad.
Yeah.
Played the watch.
Yeah, but it actually.
Yeah, I did too.
Yeah, it made me kind of sad because it did the gameplay was less offensive than I thought it was going to be. I was
same
really
here.
worried that was just going to be.
Although I've heard it gets worse, unfortunately.
Okay, that's too bad.
Yeah,
and it does land jokes decently or have a lot of concepts that I think are really clever, and then it
forgets to let them be jokes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So some people might get a lot of enjoyment out of Mad Hazard, but maybe not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, the return to reader mail.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I will say also when Nick came over today, I was playing Team Fortress 2 for the first time in months because my friend who, I think I've mentioned before, the friend who I helped get into Left 4 Dead by helping him build a computer, now Valve is basically winning because now he's also playing Team Fortress 2. So success on behalf of Steam. So I loaded up to play with him. And I forgot how much fucking fun that game is.
Yeah.
I'm still not that great at it, really, but
TF2, in all honesty, as long as the server you're on isn't full of asses, you don't need to be
even
that
if you
great.
lose, it's still really fun. It's just
You're
fun.
doing
It's just a
your own thing.
goofy, hilarious thing. Like when you go into when you're in spectator mode, after you die for 20 seconds or 5 seconds, depending on whatever causes that to be different. I don't even know.
It's just a server setting.
I
think.
When you can cycle through which dude you want to follow, or there's just a camera in like a big arena part of the map. Just being on that and watching all these hilarious characters fucking jump around and do all the hilarious shit they do and fucking yell the crazy stuff they yell. I don't know. It's really good. It's like a really unique multiplayer game. And then all the weird little things happen as a result. I mean, this is not uncommon in class-based games, but today I got in a classic fucking sniper war where it was just like me and another dude on the enemy team every single time respawning as a sniper and running back to the same.
It's like a duel, like a rush to
and
the
like
duel.
neither of us want to give up. Like I'll get him this time, he'll get me next time, and we're like fucking each other's nemesis back and forth all the time. And like
that game does such a good job. Like I mean that sort of encounter can happen in a lot of games, but Team Fortress 2 is the one that makes it. Like it maps them closest, like
it.
just visually in my mind. Like when I saw in the trailer that when you rocket jump, a crazy animation happens, or like just the notion of two snipers sort of poking up from behind walls. It's not actually animated to be amusing, but just because of the character design and because of the way they move, it amps up the sort of weird, goofy fun of all of those of the earlier sort of like Quake 1 era multiplayer shenanigans. Where it's just like this is just. No one is claiming that this is serious anymore. This is just completely like blood is exploding everywhere. People are leaping millions of miles in the air. I mean, this has been said a million times about TF2, but every time I go back into that game, it's just like
an old discussion,
thank
but it's
God.
still true.
Like it's so fucking funny and good.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't take like a big leap of imagination to sort of put yourself to invent some weird fucking stupid ass 2-second story about why there are these two Australian snipers apparently like settling some grudge while crazy German doctor man like follows around big Russian fucking chain gun man like beneath you. Because I mean, we're doing this the vantage points above an arena where people are fucking stealing intelligence, and like down below you have to fucking run around
guys running
and,
around
like,
with a
rockets
bat,
are
like
flying
screaming
and,
at each
like,
other.
This actually makes me really want
like,
the Team Fortress 2 comics because I
really? I don't really care about those.
I don't really care about them, but now that you're
exists in the
describing
game
this, I can
already.
imagine them like basing them around. Like,
I'm actually
strange
sadly
game
worried that
encounters.
they're going to try and like in your mind the sort of the Team Fortress sort of universe suspension of disbelief of just like, oh man, this is a classic thing that's been going on forever and ever, and then like is there going to be like Team Fortress 2 continuity?
Oh no, I wouldn't. That's not how I imagine it. But
hopefully
I just
it'll
imagine
be like
it's kind of like a
Team
thing
Fortress
that's sort of
2 comics in the sense of like, you know,
Right, it's just peanuts.
like detective comics or whatever. where
that's
it's
what
like,
that's kind of what I
like just
like
completely
strange,
standalone
like a penny
stories that are
arcade
just,
thing
like,
that's just
a
around.
wacky thing that happens.
Yeah.
But I also wanted to add, I haven't unlocked any of the like scout stuff, but apparently the scout has some kind of crazy weapon that like stuns people or something.
Yeah.
It just makes the game
Baseball
look
bat.
even more hilarious because sometimes you'll walk around and you'll see the big fucking heavy just like with a little cartoon donk like burst above his head that says the word donk as he's like got the little like swirls above his head and is like unconscious. Just shit like that now like is added into the mix of hilarious weird shit you'll see while running around a Team Fortress 2 map. It's just the best thing ever.
It's cool.
Yep.
That's a good video game. Anyway.
Sweet.
So we had to go
What a
all the way
weird
back to Team
podcast
Fortress
this
2
is.
to get a good video game in this podcast.
I think we've talked about plenty of good video games.
Sure.
With
Sim Tower.
peppered
Mirror's
with
Edge
a little
DLC.
haw.
A little-
With a little
Sprinkle haw.
a little sprinkle of haw on top.
Yeah.
And a little bug.
We graded in some Empire Total War and then garnished with a bit of haw.
And then motorcycle zombie QuickTime event to taste.
All right, so we got reader mail
Now
here.
the reader mail cherry on top.
There you go. Well done. All right. Mr. Chaz says,
Monsieur Chaz.
Monsieur Chaz, hey, good stuff as always. From what you've been saying about Dawn of War 2, it sounds like Relic has done the same thing Creative Assembly did with Total War, but from a different angle. They've both extracted the base building from the strategy to enable them to focus more on other things. They've both got some RPG elements with unit leveling, although to different extents. I wonder if the next Dawn of War game will have a campaign map more in the same vein as Total War. I hope so. Just a thought. Do you think Dawn of War is more like XCOM or Command & Conquer? Any thoughts, Nick? I think it's more like XCOM.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's definitely more like XCOM than Command & Conquer.
Yeah, definitely.
Command & Conquer is just a series of...
I mean, Command & Conquer is a pretty
stages.
classic RTS formula.
I mean, I think it's trying to do more things like XCOM in this iteration. I mean, from a gameplay standpoint, it's certainly more like
It's
Command
still
& Conquer
real time.
still, but I mean...
yeah.
but yeah.
Structurally,
It's kind of
more
a-
like XCOM.
Some sort of X Command and Conquer.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
He also adds, I had a whole bunch of stuff to say about old PC sim games, but it basically boils down to people don't want long games and publishers don't want to make them anymore. That's a massive generalization, but take Remo, for example. He's constantly bemoaning the lack of time and inability to finish
it's your
games.
fault.
Mr. Chaz. No, it's
It is
true.
your fault.
You've also finished
It
a
is-
shitload
it's
of
true,
games
it's your
this
fault.
year, though.
I know.
But yeah, you're the reason that Telltale Games exists.
Sweet. Good for me.
Yeah, sorry.
No, that's a good contradiction he points out, and I think he's got a valid point. I think the difference is, though, there's a difference between a linear game that requires 50 hours and an open-ended game that I can still just play as much as I want. Like,
Right.
Yeah.
that I don't have to actually sink that many hours into if I don't want to. Also, the sort of depressing reality is I will probably be compelled to spend that many hours in an open-ended game. I am never compelled to spend that many hours in a linear game. Ever. It just doesn't happen anymore for me.
I think
I mean, if I enjoy the game, it doesn't work if I don't enjoy the game, obviously, at all. But I'm just saying it's been a long time since I've played completed a single-player game.
I feel like at this point
that was like more than 20
rare
hours.
it's rare that a linear game.
It's true. It doesn't happen
good?
anymore anyway.
But I mean, it's rare that they're that long. But when they are, I feel like it's rare that a linear game has a compelling enough core mechanic to keep you going through the campaign. I mean, a lot of
I think that's always been the case.
I guess. I mean,
Maybe not. I mean, you guys might have counterexamples.
I mean, most linear games that I've bothered to play through.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I mean,
Well, shit.
I know. I can't think of anything that's remotely new.
yeah. I mean, I used to play through long, like 50-hour games, like especially in the PS1 era. But I think
That was actually when I
more a
stopped
function.
playing long linear games.
That was
weird.
That was probably more a function of me just having the time and lack of disposable income, and it just worked out that's
Right.
what I did.
But I mean,
it's
just-
not necessarily because their gameplay
It
actually
seems
was.
like open world games though are of any sort are designed to have a bunch of systems where sort of you are the one who's creating the interesting collisions, whereas a single player linear game, you gotta keep
it's
it
just-
fresh. I
it's
mean,
hard to create that much
it's not
content.
It's not a
Yeah,
clever thing to say at all. It's just,
no, it's true.
Just,
No, it's true.
it's not that surprising.
Anyway, so whatever. I'm an asshole for being totally confusing about what I like, but what
You
can
like
I do?
everything.
Yeah.
Did
Video
you
games.
end up playing Free Space 2 at all?
No, I didn't. I sort of started to get into it, and then I really wanted to fix the resolution because
Oh yeah,
I
right.
haven't gotten around to
That
that yet.
turned
No, I
into a
bought
thing,
I
yeah.
bought Free Space 2 from GOG.com after Nick mentioned it recently, and then I will go back to it, but I was sort of barreling through a billion games this past weekend for some stupid reason.
You couldn't stop.
I know, I just kept moving on. It was weird. All right, so Pete...
Stop it.
Stop it. Pete writes, hello, gents. I enjoyed the subjects you touched on in episode 21. Games like TIE Fighter, I'd like to hear, etc. He says, contrast GTA 4 and The Lost and Damned with something like Gears of War. The split is apparent. You're invested in Nico making his way through a very complex world while surrounded by omnipresent reminders as a player that you are not the center of the universe, nor its all-conquering savior. Liberty City feels like it would continue on without Nico or the player at all, even when you've switched the machine off. Gears of War is the opposite to me. The universe starts and ends when the player switches their console on, playing a while, then switches the console off. Games that center the player so directly as the fulcrum of a game's universe are subtly ridiculous, in my opinion, and sometimes not so subtly either. But that's not to say this can't work in a game's favor either. As a third option, take Crackdown, a game that indeed hinges entirely around the player's investment and involvement. However, Real-Time Worlds knew this to be a horribly overplayed cliche, the realization of this for the player coming in the admittedly trite ending, which humiliates the player's efforts as being entirely manipulated by higher powers, and so having achieved virtually nothing in the game world for themselves. Oh, sorry, spoilers. Anyway, it's something I find very interesting, and I'd like to hear more about it on a forthcoming podcast.
You know what that made me think of just then was a game like Link to the Past, or just, I guess, any Zelda game, really,
Right.
where you're not the center of the universe, but at the same time you are saving the universe.
Right.
I never feel like in those games that somebody's saying, you have to do this or we'll all die. I mean,
Right.
you're sort of on a quest, but you're not. It's not pointed out every 5 minutes that
actually, it does sort of surprisingly capture the thing about the sort of Lord of the Rings tone of just like, you're this guy who knows, like, you just sort of have acquired a little bit more knowledge than anyone else about what's going on. So you're just sort of basically going about your business, but you're not, people are just like, oh, hey, it's that guy.
Yeah.
I don't know. I like that tone, actually.
Yeah. It's a Half-Life 2. I mean, it's all,
Half-Life 2.
They point it out, but
Half-Life
it's
2,
not.
every NPC is like Freeman, the
Gordon,
free man.
the last free man.
Yeah. But as you're going through
When
the
you're-
game,
when you're out
you're
alone,
sort of,
but I
you're
mean,
just a dude. I don't know.
There aren't times in Zelda where you come
yeah.
to a town and they're like, Link, the chosen one. I guess Wind Waker a little bit.
Hero of
Sometimes.
Kvatch.
It depends, but I don't know. I still, like, when you're out in the world, I never feel like, whereas with Gears of War, it's such a, you're constantly on the phone with the dude who's like, if you don't do this, we're all gonna die. Like, I don't know.
Right.
It's like there's a difference
Yeah.
between like constantly being
They've
reminded.
sort of also, I really appreciate that Valve has started to soften that a bit in the Half-Life games. Like in Episode 2 is less like that than any
getting
Half-Life 2 game
better.
to date. Like there are those dudes who you run into who are just like, what are you doing here? Like,
Right.
like, what is this? Like, we're doing fine. We're holding out. You come along and there's a fucking army behind. Like, what is
Those
this?
two guys bantering in the
yeah.
dinner part.
Those are my favorite characters in
Half-Life at all.
maybe Half-Life. Yeah,
Yeah,
maybe my favorite
I would.
NPCs in Half-Life,
I would. Agree
I would
with
probably
that.
say they are. I think that's the work of Chet Falzek, by the way,
Right.
or at least in part. And so
Yeah.
I want to give him
It
You get the
feels like
feeling
it.
that
Credit for that.
with Half-Life 2, Valve was just excited by the fact that, like, and it felt novel at the time to me within the Half-Life universe that after 10 years, you sort of had become this weird folk legend. But it did sort of get ridiculous after every single person says, "Oh, the free man!" Like,
right.
leave me alone.
Yeah.
Like press E to say, "Leave me alone."
Yeah.
Right.
He would.
Press E to punch in face. Please.
Gun is lowered.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
God, this is a stupid thing to bring up. Just, I can't wait for Episode 3. I'm so excited. It's gonna be so long.
You're lining up already on Steam.
Yeah, I really want to play that game. I don't know. I kind of like, in a weird way, that. Well, I mean, I really like the structure they have for the episodes because I like that they're shorter and I just like them better. I just think they're getting better. I just really think they're good. But also, I kind of like that they're also not, even just from a publicity standpoint, it's not like
It's not the
Half-Life
forefront
2,
of Valve.
the fucking thing, the game that will save games.
Right.
Like, I remember Half-Life 2
See, that's
was like, before it was out, it was literally like, Valve promises the best PC game ever made. I'm like, okay, that's cool. Like, that seems ridiculous to hold someone up to. I like that the episode's not, like, I really like that
There's
episode
like, oh,
1
we're
was
trying
like,
some new stuff.
Yeah.
We're trying out some cool stuff in a game.
and it's
like-
sort of, it leads me to sort of not really anticipate it all that much, which I like. I like
Right,
just sort
no,
of
same
having it
here.
appear and being
Yeah.
like, this game is out. It's really good.
Yeah.
And now it's over, 4 hours later and it was really fun. And then
Yeah.
that's,
and I can play them through like a couple times, like and have one with the commentary, and like
Yeah.
one of the only times I ever play a game. I very, very, very rarely play a game a second time, but the commentary gives me a genuine reason to. That's really enjoyable.
Yep.
And I'm not usually actively excited about Episode 3, but for some reason recently I don't know. I was at DICE and they had a really cool piece of concept art in the like art gallery thing. That just made me really excited.
It was a head crab.
No, it was the one.
It's the
it was the one with Gordon standing
Citadel?
on like an outcropping, and then like the crazy Borealis ship.
Oh, yeah,
on the
yeah,
side.
yeah.
Jesus, what a great piece of art, and made me excited. But I do like that it's not just like world-ending hype machine.
Yeah.
I don't.
They do a really good
like
job of
that.
just letting their games speak for themselves.
Yeah.
I mean,
They
even with something
have-
like Left 4 Dead, they just sort of put it out there and they're like, play it, and then
Well, they
they
also
let it.
put
Whoa,
in
Left 4
every
Dead
subway
Left 4 Dead
station
had, like
in
the
the
biggest
Wow.
advertising campaign that a game
Valve has
had.
ever done.
Yeah,
Like,
that's
Yeah.
true.
But they let it speak for themselves.
Well, early on, though. No,
the
there is a difference between advertising for a fucking straight year and throwing out screenshots to every publication and then
Valve,
doing a blast to the
Valve had a
public,
calculated media blitz for Left 4 Dead. But Half-Life as a franchise is like kind of getting close to PC gaming, at least equivalent of Star Wars, where you just say there's a new Half-Life exists, and it's just it has its own gravitational force at this point.
Except not, though. You know what I mean? Like, there's no...
I guess with 1 and 2,
you don't feel the critical mass like you do with the Star Wars thing. That's kind of what I like about it.
I guess that's true.
There's a very understated...
At this point, that's... So it's like the Star Wars cartoon show.
I mean, like, Episode 2 was released as, like, one part of this thing that has all this other shit in it. It was just, like, this cool thing that you play if you're into Half-Life, which is, I mean, a lot of people, obviously. But, I mean, it didn't... I don't know. It was promoted in a way that hardly any games are. It was really weird. And I liked it. Also, no one ever releases games fucking new at a time, and 3 of them. I mean, that doesn't... Obviously, no one else does that ever, so that's slightly different. But just in general, the sort of hype machine for the Half-Life episodes is really muted, and I really like it.
Well, for Episode 2. Episode 1 was plugged a lot harder, but then 2 was like... The new chapter in the Half-Life saga was basically like, and we're just throwing that in with Portal and Team Fortress 2 Like,
well, Portal,
wait, what?
It's funny. I can't even remember if there was tons. I feel like Portal got a lot of like post-release hype.
Like Portal sort of ramped up really quick towards the end of the Orange Box announcement, but everyone was like,
people didn't really even understand what Portal
decade.
was for a while. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, I think a lot of people were like, Portal. Like,
a lot of people had to be convinced about Portal.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know about this one.
Weird.
Anyway,
I guess that answered that question. What?
Yeah, this was not a question.
We're just going to talk about
Valve.
Valve.
Hey, it's the Valve section. Okay.
Sweet.
I love Valve.
All right, so Cheeto Hands writes, Dear Chris...
I think that's actually a reference to us talking about playing...
I think
it's a reference to us talking about playing Twilight Princess sloppily in the couch with Cheeto hands.
Weird, that came up twice today.
Yeah.
So that guy writes, Dear Chris, Nick, and Jake, this week... Hey, guy. This week Nick doesn't care about you.
No.
This week I spent Monday through Wednesday at home sick as a fucking dog with the flu. Thanks to the system-crushing power of Theraflu, I wasn't able to do much more than play Fallout 3 and Oblivion until the point where I thought of going on one more side quest was going to make me want to run a hot bath and open a fat vein. Jesus Christ. Despairing of my life, I decided to peruse Gaff, where I stumbled upon a thread that mentioned the Idle Thumbs podcast. Hey, I see where this is going. Not knowing anything about the history of Idle Thumbs or the people involved, other than the fact that they weren't X1 up due to the dates in the podcast archive, I said to my sick self, what the hell? Why don't you download a couple shows and see what these people have to say? Over the next 8 hours, I repeatedly laughed so hard I thought my congested head was going to explode like a super mutant after a point-blank sawed-off shotgun VATS attack. But nothing could prepare me for the gut-busting experience that is Podcast 8. About 30 minutes into the show, the whole Tony Hawk skateboard controller / Wii players sinking into the couch had me laughing so damn hard the shock to my system actually broke my flu. Yes, I was the recipient of a true Christmas miracle in March. Man, good for us fixing the guy.
So we just got to get everybody having the flu. We got to spread the flu around, and that'll boost our...
He goes on even longer, but we should probably stop praising ourselves by proxy. So.
Anyway, Cheeto Hands thinks that we're awesome.
Well, we're glad we solved your flu. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
We broke it.
All right, Josh writes...
Icebox's medical corner.
Yeah.
No.
I've seen many games boast about procedural generation technology. Many use procedural generation to generate levels, textures, animations, even models. The results of these seem good. They allow the game to be more realistic, immersive, and replayable. But how do you think this affects the other roles in the games industry? Is it a good thing? For example, artists no longer being required to create those textures or models, designers being replaced by code, or rise in demand for programmers to code the tools? Thanks, Josh.
Machines.
I think that actually, and I don't entirely know because I mean I work at a company that makes basically the most like everything in a game that I work at. I make adventure games, so it's all pretty handmade and not generated procedurally. But I would say that assumes a lot more than is real.
Yeah,
that's like saying that.
I don't know, man. Spore Adventures, it's coming.
But Spore still had an art director. Spore still had an art team. Spore still had a game designer.
Well, yeah. But in particular, Spore Galactic Adventures, the whole point of that is you do create handmade content. Like the whole point of Spore Galactic Adventures is
right. But I mean,
is that you make
what this sounds like to me is when CG was first coming into film, people were like, "Are computers going to replace actors?"
Or animators.
Well, computers might be replacing animators in a gross way by way
That's
of
actually
actors.
True. Yeah,
but
right. No, that's a good point. That's horrible. Actually,
it hasn't killed off the animated film, and it also hasn't killed off effects animation. There are computer generated characters which are acted by human actors. I mean, it's things like this end up changing the landscape for sure of how like a game is made or how a film is made. And at the end, it's not the same thing that it was before that technology existed, but you'd have to have a pretty amazing computer to replace an art director.
Cyborg.
You'd have to have a like if you chained
loving
like 15
cyborg.
Sci-Tech cyborgs together. I mean, I feel like a game designer you have to have someone there to design the constraints that makes the game exist. You have to have an artist there to make sure that, you know, the stuff that is generated is limited in the correct way, and sort of to describe the systems that, I mean, the role of an art director on that project might be different than someone who's saying, no, you need to model it this way or whatever. But those roles would change on a project like that. But I don't think that a computer is going to directly supplant that, because the thing that makes a game interesting is the weight and presence of constraints to the design, to the code, to the visuals. So, you know, I mean.
Also, on a less,
I guess there might be less actual modelers.
But also though
programmers
on a less sort of broad note, like I mean, there is sort of just part of the usefulness of procedural generation is that it just helps offset the increase in production required for the scale of what needed. Like a lot of it is just like we have procedurally generated trees. Like that's not replacing anyone's job at all. It's just there's so much fucking shit required to make all these goddamn trees in our next gen game.
It's probably replacing outsourced tree guy.
Yeah, I guess so. But I mean, yeah, I guess that's true. But a lot of it, I think a lot of it is just coping with just increased scale that needs to be created anyway. That probably there weren't, like, teams are still bigger now than they ever have been. Just because the amount of content required is ridiculous.
I mean, one thing that is cool about this stuff, though, is that there are a decent amount of indie games that are based on procedural stuff that is really cool, because
that's true.
Huge,
like Spelunky.
There's the thing that came to mind the moment I started hearing this was the that introversion stuff. If you've been following, they've been running a dev blog for something that they're working on that is a totally procedurally generated city from sort of. Generates city centers and streets and all this stuff up through like architecture on the buildings. It's really ridiculous looking stuff. If you go to the Introversion blog and dig back through, there's all sorts of videos posted of this really weird city generator. I don't know if they've actually revealed what it is yet. They were being all sort of coy and saucily British about it, but it looked cool and it looked procedurally generated.
Nice,
sweet.
Yeah, There's a lot of developers doing interesting stuff.
Yeah.
Like, well, I was going to bring up Far Cry 2, but I won't. So
you did. Okay, enough. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I don't think that in the end it's going to supplant an entire like sort of class of job in the games industry, but it will definitely change things, and it will definitely mean that the weight that particular jobs have is going to change.
Yep. Cool.
It's not the same thing as a robot building a car lays off an entire car factory.
Right.
Yeah. Maybe it is. Shit. Maybe we're all already
Sci-Tech
fired.
cyborg lays off dev team. God damn it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. Well, that's a podcast that we just made.
Yep. Thanks for listening to our podcast.
Wait, Nick, did you have a thing to say?
No, I just thought there was going to be more. I'm kind of let down, disappointed.
Fuck you.
But there'll be more next week.
Oh my God.
Oh, okay.
As we inch ever closer to the culmination of tears.
It's exciting.
That didn't come out right.
Like tears?
The culmination of tears?
Yeah, that was wrong. The culmination of that sort of sniffly period leading up to tears.
That's how it is with you guys.
But yeah.
How is it? What?
We're marching on to tear time.
It's our personal trail of tears.
It's yeah.
All right. Bye.
Games.
Yeah.
Oh, video games.
Demos.
Video games.
I wrote down I wrote down download a ghost, which I thought could be the name of the episode, or I'll put on the top ghost is actually without the all.
You read it, and until the last second, you think it's going to say top hat.
Right.
Or something.
Put on the top ghost. Yeah, if there's an all
Top
in front of
ghost and tails.
Ghost needs to be on like the next line.
I'll put on the top
ghost.
Scrolling iframe ghost. Yeah, if with all in there, it sounds too much like I'll kill the last alien. But if we call it put on the top ghost, that's kind of
Put on your top ghost.
But it's a direct quote of it. And then I'll put on the top ghost and see what happens. And and then he's just out of here or whatever. But anyway, put on the top ghost is a possible episode title that I kind of enjoy.
Yeah.
Okay.
The top ghost being, of course, the baboo.